everyone. How you doing? Great to see you again. It's been a little while since we've done one of these Tundra Talks, but we are back. We're getting ready in just a couple of weeks now to go to the second half of our season. Golden Sand Speedway going to kick that off with our regular Labor Day race. I am now honored to be joined by a guy who seems to always be behind the steering wheel. He's never not got racing on his mind. Kole Guralski, one of our top EPYK Media rookie contenders. Cole, good to see you. How has the season been treating you so far? It's been busy for you because you just haven't been running Tundra, have you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a busy year. We started off kind of rough with the Tundra race at Kakana. Didn't have a very good outcome there, but other than that, I've been running some weekly shows, like mainly the specials at Wausau. I did one at Marshfield, and then I crew chief on my brother's hobby stock. He's raced every week so far at state parks. So we've been busy and been helping out with the Bandolero kids, stuff like that. So just staying busy in the racing world.
You mentioned the Bandolero kids. You were involved in something that was a really neat event I think like a week ago over at Jefferson Speedway, where it was a camp. It was kids that are learning to race. Some of them have, some of them haven't. How'd you get tied into something like that?
Yeah, I was just asked by Bryce Miller and Riley Stendrum. Riley Stendrum races Tundra with us. He started that deal. I think anyways, he kind of brought it up, I think, for his Kulicki deal. And it was a great idea for that. And he asked me if I'd want to help just because I've had experience in the Bandoleros, and him and Bryce haven't really had that experience. They raced go-kart, stuff like that. And Max Kaler was there too, helping out as a mentor. And they asked me kind of because I've had some experience behind the wheel of a Bandolero and stuff like that.
And racing in the Bandoleros, we've seen some pretty good racers come up from those ranks. Luke Fenhouse, Derek Kraus, just to name a few. Levon Vandergeest, another one. What does that do for you as a young racer? How did that help you jumpstart your career? What did you learn in the Bandoleros?
It's a lot of, I mean, they're on such a tight rule book that a lot of the speeds of race cars themselves are really tight. So like pack racing, how like you really got to work on momentum and how to set people up for passes and stuff like that. So it helps you in pack racing a little bit and like how to make the most momentum out of a turn. And then just like the car control itself, because they're so small and twitchy and they only have suspension in the back. So any little bump really upsets the car. So you learn a lot of car control just because they're small, they're twitchy, and they ride rough. So you're always wheeling them, really.
And when you go from the Bandoleros, typically not a lot of people take the route that you did. We'll see the Bandolero drivers usually move up to like a legend, or some will, make an even bigger jump. But you went to the pure stocks, correct, at State Park Speedway. So into the big, heavy rear wheel drive cars. Was that the plan, or was it just something that came up? What got you guys involved in doing that?
Yeah, so towards the end of my Bandolero career, we started going to Jefferson Speedway, and that's where my dad's racing background ended with pure stocks in that division. And we've seen the car count that they had there in the hobby stocks, and we liked the rule book. Or my dad, I don't really know much about them at the time, but my dad liked the platform that they were kind of using there. And a car came up for sale, and we thought it was a good price, so we ended up purchasing that. And I raced my first year. It was not a full season, about a half season, I would say, at Jefferson Speedway as a hobby stock. And my dad liked what they had going there in that division. Be a good moving point for me, and knowing that it'd be a bigger rear drive car. You can learn a lot, and like just how to control a car, especially Jefferson. You just use a lot of brakes, so you got to learn how to make the car handle the way you want it to with brake input and throttle input, stuff like that. So he thought it'd be a good stepping stone.
Yeah, with Wausau being your home track, ipso facto, being from the area, I've noticed a lot of your racing accomplishment, a lot of your racing background has actually happened at Jefferson, which is probably a good, 2.5 hour trip for you guys each and every week. But I mean, last year, the results spoke for themselves, Rookie of the Year and a feature win, second in points at Wisconsin's Action Track in a late model. What made you guys decide to take that route, to go there each and every week? Was it because of your dad's background? Was it because of your time there? Or is it just a place that you guys really felt like you would do some good learning?
It was kind of a mixture of all those things, really. After we ran the first season in the hobby stock there, we came back to run pure stock at State Park, my home track, just because it was closer and stuff like that. And it was easier to go out on Tuesday and test, so I could learn a little bit more. And it was just everything about it was closer, right? And then after that year, we kind of, I would almost say drama, I guess you could say, just like local short track drama versus Jefferson. We didn't see as much of that, and we wanted to go back there, run a season, and see how it was. And we liked the atmosphere a lot better there. The car count was there, the tech staff, Terry Tucker, everything about it was just, I would say, not better, but just it kind of fit what I was looking for a little bit better.
And it seems like Jefferson has made so many racers in this area. Casey Johnson, Riley Stenjum, yourself now, a whole bunch of others. Jacob Nottestad, another guy that pops into Tundra from time to time. What is it about that racetrack that does it? Is it the competition? Is it the track itself being so unique? Is it the mentality you have to have when you race there against so much competition? What makes that place breed race car drivers the way it has lately?
I think one of the trickiest things about it is just how much different turn 1 and 2 is in 3 and 4. And like you watch any racer, you notice right away that cars are going a lot slower, jamming to the bottom in 1 and 2, and in 3 and 4, you're carrying a lot of speed, running in the middle of the outside group in 3 and 4. And then another thing is like you can run 3, 4 wide there. And sometimes you won't even notice when you're 3 wide in 3 and 4, you know what I mean? It's just a really racy track. There's a lot of racing groups there, and the competition is probably the best in the state as far as limited late standpoint. And I think just learning how to set up a car and drive a race car, that's got to be completely different for 2 ends of the racetrack, and you got to do it every lap. I think that can teach you a lot pretty quick.
And so now on to the super late models. I know you actually dabbled with us a couple of times. Maybe a lot of people don't know this, but you actually raced with us twice in 2020, both at both your home tracks, right? State Park and at Jefferson. Unfortunately, didn't qualify for those races just because we had some rather large car counts in 2020. I think everybody was just tired of sitting around and not doing things. They wanted to get the race cars out. Into the super lates full time this year. Was that part of the plan? Was it something that came along? I mean, obviously, we've seen a lot of drivers make that jump lately because the cars are quite a bit closer than they used to be. Was it just time to make that jump up the ladder for you guys?
Originally, we kind of planned on racing limited late model a little bit longer. That was before my first season limited late model, knowing we had a older car that we didn't really think might be competitive as a super late. And after our year at Jefferson and how quickly my dad and I caught on to getting the car where it needed to be speed wise, we thought maybe we could try and make the jump to super late, run a couple races, see how it goes. Kakana was a big setback. But then after that, we kind of had a couple good rebounds, and we felt like if we keep working on it, we can maybe make it a competitive car. And I think Norway showed that well. I felt like I was really close. I missed it a little bit for the feature, but that qualifier race at Norway, I felt like I hit it right on the money. The car came in. It was really good. I don't think I should have changed it for the feature, but I did, unfortunately. I think I lost a little bit there, but I just felt like after our first season at Jefferson, we learned enough to where we could maybe try and make the jump and see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. You talk about that Kakana race and, wrong place, wrong time really for you. That's really what that ended up being. But when you take a look at your rebound race at Norway, not an easy play. It's never easy for anybody, right? Going to somewhere for a first time. How did you get yourself ready for that 6th place finish? Certainly something to hang your hat on.
Yeah, I think I remember Norway in 2014 was the one and only time that I raced there in a Bandolero, actually. And for whatever reason, in a Bando, it was one of my favorite tracks, and I was just excited to go back there. I came in with a good attitude, and I think that helped a lot versus like the previous Tundra races. I kind of was a little bit more nervous than I should have been, I think. And especially like that Kakana race was my first time at Kakana ever, and the first time I've been at a track that size. And I just really didn't know what to expect. Versus Norway, I remembered it was similar to State Park, and being able to close to State Park, I was able to test and get us, I think, a good baseline and kind of work with it at the track at Norway. And I feel like everything just kind of started to work out as the day went on, and we had a decent piece, I would say.
Yeah, and really back it up with a nice race at Marshfield too, which is a place that you never know, right? You could go in and you can completely hit on it. You can go in, you can completely miss the setup and have yourself a day that you just want to toss out. But you came out with an 8th place finish, and obviously not a place where you ever would have raced a Bandolero. But how did you guys get ready for that one?
Right. One of our local friends here, the Macasees, they've raced there in the past. I mean, we got a little bit from them, not too much because they run different chassis than we do. They run Pathfinders, I run left-handers. So I knew that I wouldn't be able to take too much from what they gave us, but I took the information I thought was useful. I still wasn't really happy with it, but I think we start with and hopefully have a better car next year.
So that brings us now into the second half of the season. You're going to be at some tracks where you have some familiarity. Obviously, State Park Speedway. You've been racing at the Dells a little bit this year. Golden Sands is right near your backyard as well. How are you feeling about this final stretch run of 3 races?
I'm excited for it. I'd say I'm definitely most excited for State Park just because I got the most laps there out of all of them. And especially in Super Late, I'd say that's probably where I have my most laps right now is at State Park. So I'm excited for that one. Hopefully we can bring a good car. Plover, I'm not too sure about. Like the last time I tested there earlier this year to shake the car down, it was really bad. So we'll see how it goes. I guess I know we got some work to do, but I think I can learn from that little test session I had, and hopefully we show up with a better car there. The Dells, this last Alive for 5 race, we qualified good. We got the car good in practice. I think we might have ended up breaking a bump stick in the feature because the car kind of went away from me, and it was by far the worst it was ever there. So I think we might have had something break, and I'm not sure if it was from the accident or beforehand, but we did find that we broke some stuff on the right front. So.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, it really seems like you guys are picking things up pretty well here as a rookie super late model
definitely
team.
Excited for these last 3. And
sorry, I think we had a little hiccup there in the internet. All in all, I think you guys are really picking things up well as a super late model team. And it's mostly family, right? It's family, it's your friends, it's crew people that you've had along the way. Tell me about the dynamic that you guys have in your pit area, because it's not like a normal team. It's a lot of things that you guys are doing by yourself that you're learning by yourself, isn't it?
Yeah. So mainly, my dad raced. I mean, his last race on late model was in 2006. So obviously things since then have changed quite a bit setup wise, but he knows like a lot of the mechanics. He can make any engine run, you know what I mean? So he's good with that stuff. And I've just kind of been trying to work on setup stuff, and I learn as much as I can, and I teach him and he teaches me, and we kind of just go back and forth. So we try and do all that stuff ourselves. We get a little bit of help. I mean, Tom Ress is my neighbor. We know Luke Fanos is crew chief. So I get a little help here and there from everybody, and Chris Wimmer, but all those guys are local to me. So that helps, and they're all willing to help. But I try and do as much of it myself as I can. That way I know that the information that I'm gaining was earned, So it's kind of, we do everything as a family. We have a couple crew guys that help out that are family friends, I would say. Some of them are even sponsors that help out on the pit crew, and my brother is a big help too. So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? Like he'll help you, you'll help him. He's sort of following in your footsteps. Is there going to be a time here shortly where we're going to see Kole versus Jevin in a super late model? Is that coming probably 3-4 years down the road, or is it even going to be sooner?
I would say so. I think he's not as into like the setup stuff as I am, and like even from a young age, I was always working on that stuff. Just I wanted to understand a race car as much as possible. But he gives me a run for my money behind the wheel for sure. So I think if we can get him in a good car, he'll have some good finishes, and possibly next year he's going to start testing a crate car. So we'll see how it goes. He might be up there pretty quick.
Oh, bring it on. I love seeing the sibling rivalries in racing. Speaking of that, speaking of family aspects, we as a racing community are a big family, right? And I take a look at that central Wisconsin area, and you've named a few people, you know, Tom Ress, Mark Mackesy, Chris Wimmer, and things that, you know, those types of people that have really made racing what it is in that Wausau area. Being someone who's grown up there and watched racing there, you know, what does it mean for you to interact with those people and to race on the same tracks as them? Because there's a lot of history there. What does it mean for you to be a part of all that?
It's huge. I mean, there's so much that can be learned just in a couple miles of my house. You know, there's a lot of knowledge in racing, and that's a huge help to me, and it means a lot too that these guys are willing to help me. It's really cool growing up to the ranks. You know, when I was younger, I was watching these guys be the best in the state on the racetrack, and now I get to race against them, like, you know, Mark Mackesy and Tom Ress as a crew chief, Chris Wimmer as a crew chief and a driver. So just the things I can learn from them and be able to race against them and compete with them. Huge to me.
And, you know, another thing to that point too is you talk about moving up through the ranks, and you're just going to be a senior in high school this year, right? Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. I had a Buick Regal. You get a cool race car when I was a senior in high school. By the way, I missed that car. It was pretty cool. It was an '89. What's it like at school? I always wonder this with the young race car drivers, because nobody in my high school ever did anything cool like racing a race car. One guy did. He's actually a NASCAR crew chief now, so let me take that back a little bit. But he didn't race a super late model or anything of that nature. Everybody knows the football team. Everybody knows the basketball team, the hockey team, whatever. What is it like being the race car driver in school?
I'd say everybody kind of knows it. They kind of know who you are and what you do, but there's not as much interest as like a football team, you know what I mean? So I'd say kind of half the kids interact with me and they do try and learn a little bit. There's kids that, you know, like the football quarterback will come up to me and, you know, talk about race cars or try and learn a little bit, you know, but then there's other kids that, you know, they don't show as much interest in it. So to them, they know who I am and they know what I do, but they doesn't really mean much to them, I guess, you know, they just don't show the same interest. But it's cool. There's a lot of people that I wouldn't think that would recognize it, and that definitely do. So I'd say it brings you a little bit more attention for sure.
Yeah, it's something different, something completely different. You just got to get people out to the racetrack to see how much more intense it is than just watching it on Pit Road TV. By the way, Tundra Super Late Model Series, all races live on Pit Road TV. Humble little plug there. You know, another question I have for you going through this Tundra season, you know, why Tundra? Obviously, you know, I know why we built Tundra the way it is, but there are a lot of options out there. So what made it seem like it was a good fit for you to come and join us this year?
It definitely has good competition, which is something that you want to shoot for when you're trying to learn. You don't want to be racing lower competition levels and not striving as far as you should be. And you have to show up and race good competition. You're kind of out for lunch. So I thought that was one thing that would help us learn quickly, is having lots of good cars to race, good car count. And the 6 races that you guys have on the schedule are tracks that I either haven't been to and thought that I wanted to race, or tracks that I've been to and liked racing. So it was just a good 6 tracks for me. One that I really missed was Jefferson, but unfortunately we weren't able to race that one this year. Hopefully we'll see it on the schedule eventually in the future, maybe. I don't know. That'd be one that I would want to race again. But just the 6 races, you get time between each race. With the Reynolds this year, that hasn't worked out exactly. But for the most part, you get some time between each race to work on the car and try some different things throughout the year.
Yeah, those Reynolds have either given us no time or way too much time. It just hasn't worked out in our favor at all. Into the Jefferson point, the door is always open. So we'll definitely keep working on that one. What's next? You know, with the career, what's the goal? Is it to be a top tier super late model racer? Is it to move on? I mean, that's probably, obviously, if NASCAR calls tomorrow, you're going. But what would be the goal over the next maybe 5 years?
The last year and a half really has progressed a lot faster than I ever would have expected it to. So to say 5 years from now to be a top super late model driver would be definitely one of my biggest goals. But the way the last couple of years have gone, if I can go further than that, then I'd be wide open to trying that, you know. So NASCAR, Truck Series, stuff like that, like Ty Majeski and Derek Cross, anything, an opportunity like that would be, anybody would accept it, I would think, you know. So something like that'd be a dream, but I'd say a realistic goal would be top of the super late model ranks in the next 5 years.
Very cool. I like to hear that, because I think a lot of that gets lost with some people trying to get to those NASCAR ranks, to come here and win some big races. Certainly a very cool thing, you know, like the way Luke Fenhouse has been doing it. Ty keeps going back. Really enjoy seeing that and hearing that respect for, you know, the sport here, because you had guys like Dick Trickle to stay here forever if they could have. The last question I have for you, I see you have the steering wheel there. We talked about, you know, you're an iRacing guy. Does that fill your time, or you got some other things that you do when you're not racing?
This is iRacing's been something I kind of like over the summertime. I kind of pushed to the side, and because we got real race cars to work on, to drive and stuff like that. Recently I've gotten back into it a little bit, just because I've had a little bit more time in between races with your rainouts and stuff like that, where if I did have the time, I'd try it and just see it. I'm always trying to learn. Like, there's a lot of stuff on iRacing that you can learn with setup stuff. There's so many adjustments on the computer that I would say 80% of them you can use in real life, you know. So there's always stuff that can be learned that you can use on a real race car. Other than that, in the winter times, I love snowmobiling. I try, and I don't like high school, but I don't know really who does. So, but I gotta go to high school, and I try and keep myself busy working full time.
And what's the full-time job, may we ask?
During the summer times, I landscape, and then last winter I worked at Brickner's Owasso car dealership. This winter, I think I'm gonna kind of expand my skills a little bit and try some welding for CTEK.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there's a good career ahead there too, if that's the way things go. So CTEK, fantastic company. Well, cool. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Like you said, these rainouts have really messed with a lot of things and getting into some sort of flow, but you know, you're going to have 3 chances coming up here. You and Barrett Polimas just 17 points apart in the Rookie of the Year battle. It could get pretty interesting down the stretch.
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously the goal is to get Rookie of the Year this year and keep going forward in the point standings. So hopefully we can have some good finishes up to the end of the year.
All right. Well, we'll find out in just a couple of weeks here. Golden Sands Speedway is next for the Tundra Super Late Model Series. You can see Kole Guralski there on Labor Day. That's Monday, September the 5th. We hope to see you there. Let's have some nice weather over the last month of September.